So rather than studying next door to the Louvre, they send you to Champaign, Illinois to study art next door to a pasture. Do you understand? And every day you can go out and look at the cows. And it's very strange because as you've been to Champaign, Illinois, all the buildings are Georgian buildings except they're 10 stories tall. And this makes the cows look like they're about that big, just scale-wise. And so then we start sending everybody to the GI Bill out to go to school in Missoula and in Champaign and in Terre Haute and all these places. Then we need to hire new professors to teach them. And turns out there are a lot of them out there just looking for that place. And so they come on in. And then over the years, professors die. It only took 20 years to get rid of the abstract expressionists in American schools. And the minute they died, they were filled up with deconstructionists who are still among us. And will be ever after. Oh, please. That's so moo-moo. You know what I mean? And, so you need to replace somebody in your department. And everybody says, do they say, hey, we need to get somebody really good. We can improve this department. Are you crazy? No, we need to get a woman or a black person who's not as good as we are that we can push around. And so every time a job comes open, you get somebody that's a little bit worse than everybody that's already there. And then a little bit worse, and then a little bit worse, but more diverse, of course. And then you have what we have now, which is zero abso-fucking-lutely nothing. Do you understand? We've got these machines that put out chewing gum. There's nothing there. There's no reason for it to be there. So we say, well, this is not quite what we want. We need to further support young artists. So let's have a national endowment of the arts and give money to artists. Now, in order to do this, you have to do the same thing that you do at the university. You have to get me and Elizabeth Murray and John Baldessari to fly to Washington to be put up in some hideous bed and breakfast in a town where they have great hotels, and to trudge over to this blank room and look at art and decide who gets a National Endowment for the Arts grant. And I was, everybody I was ever on a panel with, especially Baldessari and any number of other people, we always wanted to really give the award to good people, good artists. Why didn't that happen? That didn't happen because they knew me and John and Elizabeth were on the panel. They were making art for us. So I get to see versions of art I liked. John got to see versions of art he might have liked. The judges were influencing the input. And Elizabeth got to see a bunch of funky Elizabeth Murrays that didn't hold together because the students knew who we were. And if it wasn't us, it was the other team that came in and sat on these panels while staying in a bed and breakfast where the phone won't reach to the bed. Don't you really love those? So anyway, so what have we done? Yet again, we have suppressed a style change. We have created a situation just like the school in which younger artists please older artists. And like the NEA, younger artists please younger artists. And so what we get is finer and more refined versions of what we like. And what this means is between the universities and the National Endowment, we have a problem because basically we have an administrated art history. An art history administrated by older artists on the backs of younger artists. The NEA panelists, the professores, all of these people. I'm going to add one more little aspect of that while I'm going. But see, this would explain why, since I would say Manet, European art style change has been an accelerated sequence. Impressionists, 4 years. Neo-Impressionists, 4 years. Surrealists, 4 years. Cubists, 4 years. Surrealists, 4 years. Abstract Expressionists, 4 years. Pop and minimalism, 4 years. Post-minimalism, 45 years. That's when we started administrating art history and create a situation in which styles cannot change, because mommy didn't want it. And if styles should start to change, what do we do then? We invent a prize. Like, as my friend Jeremy calls this, the Vickers Fair Prize, because this is how social control is exercised in villages in England. You have a Vickers Fair, and the best garden gets the best prize, and everybody else is put to shame. Now, if the tendency in gardening is going off into an edge toward begonias, you know what I mean? It is up to the Vickers Prize to put everybody back on the track. First one that comes to mind, the Turner Prize. You see, every time British art shows any sign of having any cojones, or whatever the female equivalent of cojones is, bitchery maybe, we give the Turner Prize to some idiot that runs around from room to room turning on the lights. That'll put it back in the good Protestant mainstream. So we have prizes, and we have awards, and we have Kunsthalles, and we have professors, all designed to stop style change, and all designed to make post-minimalism go on forever and ever. And all the time, post-impressionism is still there. You understand? And so we have this peculiar situation. Now, the other peculiar situation that I can speak to firsthand is the fact that when we had our underground group, when we would come together to listen to Electric Flag and smoke dope or syringes, there's a big quarrel about the efficacy of smoking dope or shooting things in syringes. It was Lou Reed's contention always that he would rather die with a spike in his arm in a restroom than to share some hippie spit. So, so they were issues of taste at work. And but while we're all sitting around there one day, and there's Hannah, and there's Billy Williams from Harlem, and there's Linda Binglis, and there's Mary Howman, and there's and there's Bob Smithson, and there's John Chamberlain. There's all these kind of weird people sort of clustered around not getting along with each other. You know what I mean? But having friends to not get along with is very important in the art world. And you look up one day, and all the gay guys are gone. Where are the gay guys? I had a great gay joke, you know? It's like, where are they now, you know? I was going to make a joke about lighting your loafers or something, you know? And we discovered that all the gay guys had gone to a consciousness-raising meeting with a bunch of gay dentists and lawyers, because we were going to put gay people into the mainstream, where nobody in the world fucking wanted to be. But all the gay guys were out there marching to try to get the gay people to achieve the public and mainstream recognition they deserved. And I'm sure they deserve it. But that was really hard on our little group. And then all the women were gone. They were out raising consciousness. You know what I mean? I remember when the gay people left the underground, they started proselytizing, and a couple of lesbian friends of mine went over to Gina Barnes' house. Gina Barnes is a great writer and a famous dyke. So they go up and they banged on Gina's door, and they want her to come out to a lesbian affair. And Juna stood in her door and said, I am not a lesbian, I just love Thelma Wood. Then went the door. But my point is that the underground disappeared. All the girls were going to join the mainstream. All the black dudes were gone to join the mainstream. Even the Italian guys had joined up with Joe Colombo for the Italian American Association until Joe got shot in 1970. I was there. And it was great. They got a black guy to shoot him. So all of a sudden the underground is gone. All the people who don't care who you are or what you are, as long as you don't fit in, and as long as you're contemptuous of the American mainstream and the puddle of mediocrity that it is, all of a sudden they're all gone joining the mainstream. Okay, fine. You know, they're all gone. It's just me and John Chamberlain, you know? And what am I going to do? Go demonstrate for golf? You know? I'm like a white guy. And, but, you know, it's like, bring golf back, you know? More respect for the America's Cup, you know, things like that. White guy stuff, you know. Or, I love the Knicks, that kind of thing. Oops, I dropped it, I'm sorry. So the underground is gone, right? And we have liberal artsified the arts. So we're not learning about art anymore. We're learning about the struggle. And we're learning about the horrible way that everyone has been treated since the invention of bronze. And we're learning about the evils of capitalist culture. And we're learning about the fragile identities of alterity. And we are reading Foucault, whom we don't understand. And we are reading Derrida, whom we don't understand. And we are feeding that into our art. All of a sudden, between the schools and identity politics and the NEA, we have social content. Oh boy. And also, social content, you don't have to be able to do anything but put a bunch of furniture together in a provocative way. You know, okay, see these little bitty chairs? Those are the women, these great big chairs. Here are the men. My favorite provocative thing was actually over here at Glasstire. And I went over to visit a studio at Glasstire. It was an empty studio. And I asked the guy what he was doing. He said, well, I'm trying to raise money to buy 200 toasters, those little toasters that pop up. He said, my plan is to arrange the 200 toasters in a grid and then change the little toaster level so some of the toast will pop up white, some of it will pop up brown, and some of it will pop up burned. And this will be a symbol of diversity. Are you fucking ready for that? How many things have you seen that are worse than that? A lot, you know? And the toaster thing just really put me out the door. I just said, oh shit. You know, it's just like, okay, here's 20 bucks. Go buy a toaster and just change the levels from time to time, you know? You need fucking 200 toasters to do this. And I'm not kidding. You can't make this shit up. So all of a sudden, art has social content. That means that we can talk about art in school. That means we can do research into social content while we're researching art. We can interrogate things. We can address things. We can do any number of interesting theoretical things with regards to art. Excuse me, dear, darling, I'm sorry I'm talking bad. I apologize. And what are you doing after the... Sorry. I didn't realize there was a child here. I apologize. She looks like a fairly hip kid. Yo. So now we have achieved a wonderful, point of divergence. We have people and institutions who do exclusively social content. Installation art that relates to the purity of milk in Wisconsin are my favorite ones. Is all of the art about the freeway system in Los Angeles. And y'all can use some of that here. You know what I mean? And I'm supposed to go to shows and revel in the intellectual acuity of some 20-year-old's political insights. Oh my God, I'd never thought about oppression. God. Are you kidding me? And in this process of this, in the process of paying professors, giving away NEA grants, putting up exhibitions in Kunst halls, funding artists. We can fund local artists, we can fund ethnic artists, we can fund short artists, we can fund gay artists, we can fund artists. This means we never have to look at the art. We just give the money to the artists, they build a spa and do an installation. They do like Burt Long used to do, put in a bunch of ice and put leaves all over it. And Rafi Ferrer used to do that too, as I remember. And the good thing about that is there's no insurance, there's no transportation, there's no security. You just sit there and watch it melt. And the problem with this is that issues of influence and development completely disappear. Now you think that's great, How many artists, except for Rachel Whiteread, do Bruce Nauman? About 15, maybe. Bruce has to follow about 15 obvious, copiers. Nearly everybody does. How many fake Warhols have you seen? How many fake, well, anyway, I'm not going to go on with that. But the point is that the ability of a work of art to hold its place in history has evaporated. So in, 1969, I think, was that, remember Bruce's triangular room with the yellow light in it? Was that about 69? Bruce built this big plywood triangular room with a yellow light in it, right? Now, if this were a sane world, no one would ever build another plywood room. I have seen minimum 50,000 plywood rooms. I have seen plywood rooms that you can't get into. Plywood rooms that you have to climb a ladder to get into. Plywood rooms that you have to kneel at an altar and peek into to pray. I've seen plywood rooms with coal in them. I've seen plywood rooms with cotton in them. Commentary on Southern slavery. I have seen plywood rooms with just the word boogie written on the wall inside. And why can we do this? Because we don't know anything. Do you understand? And why don't we know anything? Because the people who are teaching us art history are teaching it to us in the art department. Art history belongs in the history department where they do freaking history. Do you understand? What do? I've taught art history, and all teaching art history means, if you're a critic, is you have to teach people you don't like. Do you understand? Because you want to be fair. And so you're fair. So I teach Robert Morris, an artist of infinitesimal interest, but an artist who demonstrates all the principles of minimalism in the simplest possible way. No adult would think about Robert Morris if they didn't have to teach minimalism. But you have to be fair and felt, if you're Robert Morris. Joke. And fairness has become our new motto. What happens when you're fair? First, you're mediocre. That's what fair means. Unless you're my grandmother who said fair happens once a year and usually in the country. Or if the world was fair, we'd all have cotton candy for lunch, right? But all of a sudden, the magazines are fair. Have you noticed that? They're totally fair. Every magazine touches every base. You know, happenings in Dubai, happenings in Myanmar, happenings anywhere. They become fashion magazines where you put up art in weird places and take pictures of them. And why do you do that? Because you demonstrate no commitment to any particular work of art. And why do you do that? Because if you demonstrate a commitment to any particular work of art, you lose advertising revenue. You know, I've told this story before, but I'll tell you. Back in the, 90s, Jack Bankowski called me up from Art Forum and said, do you want to, David Sally's having a retrospective in Sweden, do you want to write about it? Well, I thought I would. David Sally's become like Benjamin Button. He gets younger every time I see him because he's had so much work done. But I didn't have any feelings for or against David, and I said, sure, I'll do it. And that'll be fun, Sweden, you know, and snow. But then he said, well, Dave, do you want to do the pro or the con? Which means I'm not going to stand behind anything you write. I'm not going to stand behind any work of art that David makes. I'm going to get a pro and a con so we can keep our ad sales up. Now, this is from Art Forum, which had been the harbinger of judgmental art criticism, you know, who invented thousands of careers. And now I'm getting to do the pro on David Sally just out of weirdness. You know what I mean? And then they're going to hire somebody else, I don't know who, I don't know, Evil Aid, somebody, to do the con. We're being fair. If we're fair, you go to museum meetings and people say, have we done an Iranian minimalist lately? Oh my God, no, who could we get? Every show you see is a group show. You don't see one person shows anymore unless they're incredibly bad artists like Christopher Wool, you know, whose mediocrity transcends all. And you can walk down the scene and look at that crap. But the good thing about Christopher Wool is that not one of them is better than another one, you know. It's just like, they're like stellar protractors. It's just like nothing. But generally we're fair and we put up group shows. Now, how do we put up a group show? Well, there's a great website out that will give you titles for group shows. Have you seen that? Great. I found a good one. Mine was John Waters and the Avant-Garde. I think it was something like Catastrophic Difference, John Waters and the Avant-Garde. If you find this site, I can't remember what it is, but it'll give you a different one every time. And I looked at 4 or 5 of them, and honestly, I could see tenure on the horizon. You know what I mean? I could see a spa. I could see an Audi with a bike rack. I was going to have it all, this thing. So, a group show is a show held together by the most banal attribute of all the work in the show. It's like, oh, everything with corners, you know, or, oh, everything with Sion or taupe, or everything that has a railroad track in it. You know, I mean, and so you put up these group shows. What the group shows mean is that you can offend no one. Because you say, well, there's the Iranian railroad track, right? There's the Colombian Railroad track. Excuse me, did I screw it up?
No,
Hello?
it's still on.
Thank you. Are we back?
No.
No. Oh, here, let me see it again.
Second.
That turned it off.
Sorry, guys. Am I on? No. Is it working? What the fuck is that?
Let's see. Here, try it again.
Hello? Oh, I'm back.
Okay.
I've taught in universities before, so I can tell you that that monitor, this cute little thing, this cute little thing, and this cute little thing were all purchased from a brother-in-law of the dean. And this was built by the cousin of the dean. He does really good carpentry. And but my point is that we have reached a level of being fair all the way through. Now, I don't want to, excuse me, I need to check my little notes here.